All right. Hello and welcome to another episode of our Illuminated Archetype chart readings. Today we have Amanda with us, and Amanda is a 1-3 right angle cross of the Sleeping Phoenix. So today we're going to be doing an illuminated. Hello, welcome to another episode of our Illuminated. I'm hearing myself because of YouTube. And then Michael's here too. So we've got Amanda and Michael. Hi, Michael. Michael's a 5-1 reflector, and he chose to do his illuminated archetype reading on the 33, which is the medicine woman. So Amanda's doing hers on the 55, which is the game changer. And Michael's here doing the 33. And then when Cohen joins us, Cohen will be doing theirs on the 21. So we've got the manager, the game changer, and the medicine woman. So wonderful. Okay, well, let's get started. We're gonna start with Amanda first. Okay. You can see her chart. So you can see that Amanda has the 55 as her life's work in a first line. The keynote of the first line is creator, is a creator archetype. And so she's here to create freedom. in simple terms, create freedom. And Amanda also has the 55.4 as her unconscious south node. The nodal environment is not so much about the personality, although we can be shaped and conditioned by the environment that we're in. So we are going to recognize that in life's work, it is a conjunction. We have the south node and the sun in the same place. So the 55.4 is the south node. It's the past. It's what she's mastered. It's where she's been. It's on the design side. So it's unconscious. And so we can see that on the north node, that programming partner, the 59.4 is the North Star, is where she's headed, where she's going when she has that Uranus opposition that usually comes around 42 to 50 when we have Chiron return. So that's when we're going to start seeing the change from a lot of this victimization to freedom to transparency, honesty, or dishonesty. And so that can also mean that you may be around people that are going to be dishonest with you, or victims, or feel victimized, or victimize you, or vice versa. The 59.1 is your evolution sphere. So that is a bit of a challenge because we are moving towards that north node, with this being the evolution sphere, which is one of our greatest challenges in this life, is to overcome this dishonesty, intimacy, transparency. The first line can also be the line of repression. So it's deep in the bones. So going deep into yourself to feel into, where am I self-sabotaging? Where am I not being honest with myself? Because we have that dishonesty here. This is part of a very strong channel that you have here, the 59.6. It actually is what defines you emotionally. And this is the channel of mating. And the 6 is going to be a really powerful gate because if you know anything about the emotional waves, that one has the most different wave. It kind of encompasses all the waves. So it's a little more complex than all of the other types of waves where we have a high and then a low or a drop, or there's just different ones. So with this one, the purpose of the 59.6 is actually there's a big like sexual field and magnetic field with someone that has this. Their aura is just really appealing and attracting to a lot of people because they have this energy all within themselves. And I think I went in your intake form, you don't have any children, correct? Fascinating.
No.
So where do you find yourself creating? What are you creating in the world if it's not children, if it's not perpetuating the human race, which this one's very heavy on? What are you creating in the world?
Or what I would like to, probably like maybe a business or even books, something I could share with others.
And what do you feel like you would write about?
Well, this is where I was having a question on with Gate 55 was about freedom, just figuring that out, like how to balance that with the way things are going on in this world right now.
Yes. And just to bring this in as we're kind of pulling in pieces before we go deeper into your reading, I also see that your vocation sphere, which is also your core wound, is the 59 as well in the third line. And third line is the wound, the core wound of shame. So you can see how your evolution sphere and your vocation sphere is conjunct, is similar. And that's also going to be something that is really heavy, heavy on your life, heavy on your soul's agenda. And so before we move forward on your reading, oh man, and then you have these. Wow, you have a triple 40. Okay, anyways, I'm getting distracted by all of this like difference. I can understand why the 55.1 is hanging out as your life's work, because that's what you're going to overcome. Where has dishonesty shown up for you in your life?
For dishonesty, what exactly does that mean energetically? Just wanted to.
Let's well, there's a lot of sexual tones in keynotes in the 59 and the 6.
Mm-hmm.
So have you been in relationships where where you've cheated, someone else has cheated, that you're not honest with your sexual drive? Like what's happening? I know that these are big and personal questions as well, but I'm trying to kind of get deeper with the 55 to see where is this victimization showing up and how.
Yes, you can say that. Yeah.
Yeah. Bella, do you have any questions you
Um,
want to come in with too? Oh, did you want to keep
no, you're
elaborate?
good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bella?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's so much to unpack with the 40 and the 59, and like I kind of would like to be a bit behind a closed door with Amanda. I feel like I'm going to take a little bit of another route, in the sense that you're speaking about life mission and what you're here to do and that freedom key. And when I look at your chart and I see the completely open G center and I see your ego center with so much definition and a lot of conscious definition with all these black gates that are hanging, I can see why you chose something that seemed to be the thing. So if I understood right, it's in financial services that you have worked for 18 years. And that would be a logical decision to make. I mean, you're 1-3, you're here to become empowered and you need some dynamism. So hopefully, like in the financial industry, there's still like some possibility in those 18 years to change and do different works, and maybe, to start somewhere, but then maybe develop within the company or even changing. So empowerment and dynamism, I can see how that was there. And at the same time, with that completely open G center, there are many roles. There are even, different costumes or even identities for you. There are many adventures that you're here to live, and even many different ways that you're here to experience the love of the self, the love of the body, the love of, you don't have a preference in that center. It's just so much to live and so much to kind of mirror yourself in. And I'm gonna probably just can I change the view just a little bit so that we see something together? So I look at I understand again that what you chose was a good choice, because you're going to be able to be empowered. You're 1-3, you're going to be able to like get the details and be better at all the rules and everything that are in the financial services. And I also see how with everything that you have in Virgo, that would make sense because it's detailed. It's like about cents and and dollars and stuff. And then when you're asking, what is it that's like the life mission? I mean, I go up. We say that the midheaven, the highest point of the sky, and the moment you're born, that really shows us what you can be in authority in. And then you have two of those important feminine archetypes, closer planets, which is the moon energy and Venus, that are also here in Aries in the 10th house, like kind of what you're here to easily show to the world. So for me, when you ask what's your life mission, I would say there has possibly been some conditioning, but also some logic reasoning of why you work what you did, and you're also really good at it. You even have, your Jupiter, your culture, and your pearl there. And but when I look more kind of maybe where you're going, I can see, and even your radiance being a fire sign and you being the Black Panther, I think it's so important that you tune into what's like, what feels alive for you, what feels natural for you, what is like what sparks, because Aries is the first sign in the zodiac and it's the spark, it's cardinal fire. So there is something that you're here to initiate.
Yeah.
I think Bella froze a little bit.
Yeah, it might be me.
No, it's not
But
you.
I pick everything. Oh, no, I picked up
Although the
everything.
energy is so fiery. You also, your north node is also um a Leo sign. So
Hmm.
we've got, you're moving towards that fire. And like, so that means you have
You have
stuff
to
in
prepare again.
Aries. Oh, there you are. Hi. You back? You froze for a moment. Or your
Okay, you
energy.
can put up the normal chart so that more people. I was mentioning that there is the whole in the 10th house, which is the house of like mission, or outer authority. There is that whole combination of the 25 in the MC that we don't see in the body graph, because it's a point, it's not a planet, and then the 51, which is the moon energy. So I believe that when you ask yourself, what am I putting my energy in? What role am I taking? It needs to come from that channel of the 51 and the 25. And that kind of is, what do you have enough? Sorry for the noise. What do you have enough energy so that you know it's worth initiating? And I feel that there is like a higher expression of your precision. So I think that your AC, if I looked, like your rising sign is in Cancer, in gate 62, which is the gate of precision. That again goes back to the precision that you need to have with dollars and cents, right? And at the same time, looking at the 59, looking at the 40, and knowing about that 62 as well, they are feminine. It's Virgo and Cancer. These are feminine archetypes. And I believe that there is something that maybe you like kind of, I think that there might be something from the childhood or even like a parallel timeline or something where you had to surrender to something that wasn't right for you. And it's time now to say, I'm retaking the power as a priestess, and I'm very precise in the work I do, and I'm here to spark something new in the world, something that can heal intimacy, something that can heal dishonesty, something that can heal victimization. And my true surrender is to allow that spark to be part of how I write a book or how I start a business. That is what feels like I kind of get goosebumps when I tune into. And allow that sensitivity in your attraction to be an asset. You have precision, you have sensitivity, you have that Virgo attention to detail. The 59 can really, if it's in a higher frequency, when the vocation starts to open, it can really read between the lines, and it can feel when something isn't authentic, when something is, when there's a lack of transparency. So you have amazing skills that feels like they're a little bit wasted in what you do. I think that if you use those skills to write a book or start like maybe a project before you start a business, like you do a pilot, a trial, then you would see that your precision, your skills are going to be able to be used in a way that is powerful.
Do you find that financial freedom is something that you'd like to illuminate for people, discuss with people, or what kind of freedom are you finding yourself attracted to?
Not so much financial. It's just knowing who you really are and living in that truth and not being afraid to. It's almost like the profession I'm in, I thought that's what I was supposed to do. And then just within the last few years, I'm like, this doesn't feel right. I don't know why it doesn't feel right. I couldn't articulate it. And I started learning about human design a couple of years ago, and it started making more sense. And I'm starting to see a lot more things unfold. So seeing this reading today, it really makes it makes more sense. It's more clear to me.
Right. You have quite a lot of channels in the CrossFit industry as well. In a lot of individual circuitry where you're busy doing the things that you want to do. And if for example, you get to a point in your career where you're like, it doesn't light me up. I don't feel the fire, the passion, right? All that fire sign, I don't feel it. So I'm just going to do it and chug along and do the thing that I've been doing. But then you're dishonoring the part of you that probably has a vision and a dream and a goal and like an ideal that you're like, this is where I want to go towards, but you're kind of maybe trying to find the spark or the in or the thing to initiate first because you're thinking about it, you're being logical about it because this is also the realm that you were in before. And I think you're probably also balancing and bridging the right brain and the left brain, the masculine and the feminine. And a lot of what the 40 is about is also balancing and harmonizing those two sides, those the masculine and feminine dynamics within us, because we want to have that balance there. And so I think that to be able to move into that area, you just need to start prioritizing having that dialogue or conversation or writing about it, because then all of your energy is going to start to unlock and it start to come more easily to you. But you got to create a routine around it, you know, because whenever we do things as sacral beings that are not that are not like that are lighting us on fire anymore, because we're very spiritual in the now beings, meaning like we're driven by the now response. And so if you're doing something that you kind of are already feeling like, wow, I can feel the completion coming to this, eventually you're going to just feel completely exhausted doing what you're doing, because it's going to get to that point where it's like there's no more energy. Your sacral saying, no, we got to go this way, this is the way, and you keep going that, and then you're going to be exhausting yourself because you're going to be forcing that direction. And we don't want to get you into force, because that's that 34, that is your radiant sphere. You can do anything. You have the power. You have lots of power, lots of energy, lots of power. But you don't want to be putting your power in the wrong direction, because then you're going to start depleting yourself, because that's not where your energy wants to flow. And that's what the Black Panther does, you know, and it's in a third line. It's really dynamic. So you're going to need to try different things, and creating a routine that is consistent and the same is probably not going to light you up either. You're a 1-3, you're going to need to have variety and experience. And then that's going to start opening things up to you. And then having you get honest. Like, we also want to unlock that 59 that you have, where it's like, where am I being dishonest with myself? Where am I thinking like, yeah, I can do this for a little bit longer, but can you? Because the 59-6 is creator energy, and you want to let that spark come inside of you. Like, you need to be penetrated by life, penetrated by that dream, penetrated by freedom, and that needs to gestate inside of you. So as someone that hasn't had any children and hasn't carried any children, as far as I know of, I'm not sure if you had anything happen or anything like that, but it's about getting in tune with that pregnancy. And Virgo's a priestess, and Virgo's very earth element as well. She knows the practical. She can have that container. So it's tuning into that as well. And I think, because like Bella mentioned, your attraction sphere, very, very beneficial for you to feel into, how do I want to approach this? How do I want to approach this dream? How do I want to approach this thing? How do I want to approach this separation? Right. And the fourth line, like a couple fourth lines you have in your, is probably going to want to have a plan before you just impulsively cut anything off. You're like, I need a plan first, you know? So grounding into your purpose sphere is what's really going to help you find the path, because you want to get into presence, and you want to be present with what's inside of you. We stay too much in the mental realm where we're ignoring the fire that comes from our emotional realm as well. I think you want, like Bella mentioned, there's a lot of fire happening. You need to find the fire, because the fire is the fuel that's really going to propel this dream. And it's going to start unfolding more of the details that you're probably also longing for, which Bella mentioned the 62, and it's like the master of details. It's like, what are the details? Let's name the details. Let's name the facts. Let's name the things that are here. So I think that it's just about moving forward in that direction. And we're in the mountain transit right now, archetype 52, which you don't have. And because you, Michael, and Cohen booked during this time, I would say that stillness and restraint and knowing that the seed is planted and it's probably rooting. It's probably gestating. You just have to have patience to know that it's coming, because it may not have come out into the surface to be seen in the world, but I know that you feel it. And some things take longer to gestate than others. And you'll start to be feeling like, when is it time to start this, and even then to birth this, and then to bring it into the world to kind of showcase it.
I have one more thing. You only have one gate to the throat center, and that is gate 30, which is your purpose sphere. And that is the gate, presence. And there are no other gates. And at the same time, by writing a book or kind of starting something, an empowering business, out in the world where you are 1-3, you would be an inspiration for others through that. If the only gate that's activated is on the design side, in the body, in the earth, it's almost like part of it is to start speaking. So maybe, your SQ, your inner child, your heart, it's a double heart because you have a 4th line SQ, and the SQ is the heart already in the chart, in the very center of the chart. So, there is something on the other side of her, the 56, there's a storyteller there. We're going to speak about the 33 in just a little moment when we change to Michael. That's another type of storyteller. Like, that's the storyteller that takes the experiences, whether they were good and bad, and it creates a medicine based on those experiences. The 11 has the ability to look at the demons and the angels, look at the dark and the light, and be able to weave from that. It doesn't have a preference. The preference is that connection with the programming partner, which is the 12, which is the truth, right? With the purity. So to me, it feels like you kind of just have to start speaking. And, you haven't spoken much today. And that's, I believe, because also we are live. I mean, the only thing that I would love to know, and Ashley already kind of asked it, like, are there any themes or ideas, because the 11 is the gate of ideas, that you have already, that these are themes, ideas that I would like to write about, or that I've been thinking about for a business? Like, would you be open to sharing any kind of thing that you feel like you would be open to sharing with the world, Amanda?
I'm still trying to discover more and more, really starting to understand my own chart, just to see how it's designed, like what it's telling me. But I feel like it's going to be more about embodiment, stepping into your body and trusting it, and that it's guiding you in the right direction, and just really knowing what your truth is and not being afraid to express that.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little like curious and drawn to, I want to hear more. I want to hear more from your personal experiences. And some of the questions that I asked you, there have been some responses, but I'm like, there's more. And as a 1-3, I know that you have experience and you have depth because you've been through certain things. There's trial and error. There's things that you've been through. So you feel really relatable. And I want to know, where is there a resonance with us? Like, where is there an overlap? So there is a part inside of me that's like, what is your story? Tell me your story. So I can feel the pull and the draw. And I think having anecdotes and real life experiences when you are sharing, like, that's going to really help people connect with you, resonate with you. And then also feeling that power that I identified in you as well, and that you feel like you've been through it. And maybe when we can feel that power and empowerment, it's also like it gives you the authority, which is your IQ. It gives you the authority. People are like, wow, she went through it, and this is how she feels. She doesn't feel like a victim. She feels empowered, because you want to be the 55 that's empowered. Yeah. Okay. This is just the tip of the iceberg, but we don't have any more time for it. I'm like, I could go in so many directions, and if I do, then I'll talk forever. So let's, is there anything that you want to, you say to close, or ask, or, since you have us?
Actually, I was just want to say thank you for this assessment, because I never really looked at it with the zodiac signs here, with the body graph and the gene keys, just seeing it all as a big picture and really understanding what to focus on, like the shadows, and just working through those and being able to tell my story to others. I appreciate that. I really do.
And I love how you like resume that right now, like how clear you kind of said, using the dark and the light, using the experiences, and to be able to bring that to others. I also loved how you said, coming back to the body and trusting from there. You have that, those three centers, the sacral and the spleen and the emotional center, they are an anchoring for you. You're anchoring in many ways, and you have powerful fuel in terms of the powerhouse in the 14 and the water goddess, that commitment energy in the 29. You have that energy of creating intimacy and connection with the other in the 59, and then the 34 that has a naturalness of being who you are in the world. Like, these are all archetypes that are showing us how you are anchoring in the world and how you are here to trust your body. So if that is something that you feel is important, I would say go a little bit deeper through the 64 Doors website or Richard's book to anchor into those sacral archetypes, because you are a generator, and that is how you're going to be able to use your energy and feel that you're, home in your body the most.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, thank
Perfect.
you so much. I will definitely do some more research on your website with the 64 Doors. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. Wow. Thank you for letting us take a peek into your chart, and we'll move to Michael. Hi, Michael. Hello again.
I'm back.
You are with a power punch of the 33. So you chose the medicine woman, medicine man, and that one moves from forgetting to revelation through the pathway of mindfulness. And so is there an intention or something you want to add into the call? Has the 33 made its appearance for you since you booked this? Is she sharing anything with you that we might want to use in our reading today?
Well, par for the course, I forgot what I put in my application for this one in particular. I know it was more robust than what I put in there for the 35. But I think I just got excited because I was gonna wait until August for the 33 to pop up, and then y'all changed what you were doing. And I was like, I want to work with the 33 a little bit. There's something around, I know, the connection between the evolution and the pearl, and the culture, that weird line that doesn't exist in any chart, but is definitively there, that I'm trying to crack, because there's a relationship between those three around. I don't know if it's around necessarily the pearl, but there's something within the fact that only the pearl is at the bottom of the hexagram, and my evolution and culture are kind of the higher level view that I'm trying to integrate into my body. Uh, I have no idea if those words make any sense and give you any guidance on where to go, but that's what's coming through right now.
I could just say that what you had written was it felt a little bit also similar to Amanda in that sense, that it was connected to kind of your life mission and you being happy with what you do, guiding people, being a coach, and also working with plant medicine or shamanic ritual or ceremony. And at the same time, you were saying that some of all the things that need to be set up, or kind of the admin and the structures and all that, is not something that you enjoy a lot. And also we seeing that you have all centers undefined, that can be a thing with consistent energy of kind of this, what needs to be there. So I thought that was fun to be able to dive into that, and like those three spheres that you were speaking about that are in the 33, to look at them. I have an idea of how I would like to go about it, but maybe we want to start an overview, Ashley, with you, or I'm open to either way.
Sure. Michael mentioned something about the 33 and having different parts of the hexagram. You can see that the pearl is in a first line, which is the first line of the 33, where you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he's mentioning he kind of also has a sandwich with these. Got a first line and a sixth line. It's a really wide gap. One is personal, these two are transpersonal. So the forgetting, mindfulness is going to come with karma with the other. It comes in relationship with the other. What's important for you and how you asked about the pearl, Michael, is the way in which you would approach your life would be to just remember the simple. Like, I know that in our conversations together, you talked about looking at all life as sacred. And that's something that's really simple that would help you be mindful. You also have different ways that you approach life with real and flow and magic and all those things. So creating these simple ways of coming back to yourself and being like, okay, real, am I relaxed? Am I engaged? You have tons of definition in your root. It's very easy for you to pick up on the stress. And then it's very hard to identify where is it going, because there's so many gates that are defined, meaning you're going to be experiencing stress in all these different ways. So it's not as simple as, oh yes, okay, something comes into the ego center and we're right into the 40. It's just the 40. That's the preferred way. There is no preferred way of dealing with the stress. So you kind of need to come back into the self, not get too overwhelmed by the stuff that's coming into you, and remember your practices, remember your approach, remember how you, what's in integrity for you, because it's super easy for you to get blown away by the collective, by others, by the environment you're in, by the people that you're around. So I think that your 5-1 profile is probably influencing all of this as well, right? It's leadership, it's mastery, it's the 5th line is the pinnacle of the hexagram. When we get to the 6th line, it's looking towards the next one. So you can see how we've got a 5th line of the 19. You're here to master sensitivity and master mindfulness so that you can be a teacher, a role model for others in that transpersonal line. But you've got to do the investigating. You've got to get disoriented. You've got to get oriented. You've got to feel entropy to then feel freshness. And this is a very personal thing you experience, right? And then when stress comes in, can we be with it? Can we be the calm in the storm? Can we be the mountain? Can we be the center of this, despite all the other things that are moving around within you and around you? And I think mindfulness with the pearl culture and evolution is just, it has to have that conjunction so that it's very big and loud in your energy, so you can keep coming back to the remembering. Because again, we're not here to repeat. If you've completed, don't get caught up in other repeats. It's like, oh yeah, I finished that. I know that. I've learned from it. Here's the practice. Here's the lesson. Let me implement it. Otherwise, we forget. And then we go back on the same old hero's journey that we were on before. And you're like, I know this. I know that. And that's what I think, that's what the forgetting mindfulness is because there are so many areas that you've been, that you're picking up on, that you're mastering, that you have mastered. And so you have so much 33 because she's here to remind you. The medicine is here to remind you. And you have to remember to take your medicine. Sometimes we forget and we're like, oh shit, okay. Well, so I don't know how much of an overview that was, Bill, but that is what came through my open throat. Don't have me go into direction if I don't got the 2 and the 1.
And at the same time, there's a certain familiarity because we did look at Michael's chart before. You have worked with Michael behind the scenes and a little bit in collaboration with Unlock Your Design. And we have done some work or some readings also, or sessions, all 3 of us. So there is absolutely, it feels like kind of, we're not going to the basics here. Also, Michael, you are long time, you've been into the Gene Keys and all that. I'm going to do the same thing as I did before so that we can have another other view of this. Let's see, I'm going to just pull the other. Let's see.
The astrology chart?
Yeah, exactly. Bear with me, continue. Okay. And I also saw that you have some, with Amanda, you have some quite a lot in common. You have the 19 that is super powerful, both of you. You have the 55, you have the 40. So there are some archetypes that come together. So when we see it in the wheel, it's just a different way of seeing it. Here we see those 3. So of course they're lined up in the Gene Key chart, like you saw that line, and they're lined up in the sky. And you happen to have this, in your 9th house and your 10th house, the house of authority, the house of truth, the houses that are very transpersonal and like what you're here to do in the world, where the highest point of the sky. So you're a leader. That's what you're here for. You're a Leo leader, right? You have fixed fire. That is a leadership. And I saw in the intake as well, you were saying that the shadow of forgetting is sometimes hard because you don't really know what you have forgotten until you remember, right? So there's a paradox a bit in this 33, which I think goes back to what we were speaking about with Amanda as well. It's like the medicine comes from all the different experiences that have been there, and then being able to bring out the story, the medicine from them. So it's not so much to go back 12,000 years and see what happened there. It's more remembering through the experiences, the retreat, and allowing the medicine to develop through you. What I see in this chart too, it's like how it looks to me is that this highest point of the chart has two parts that it's sustained by, or two energies that are going to be helping, and that's where we have stelliums of planets. So on one hand, you're going to have creative tension in the square that you have to Scorpio, which is your ascendant. So that's your task, your homework, the environment that you're born into. It has that Scorpio energy of transformation, of deep waters, or not even see where you are. So remembering in a place where you don't even see where you are, which is the child that gets born into Scorpio. You have that first gene key both in your SQ, I believe, and in your radiant sphere. So we have a creative tension with a courage that is there in Scorpio. And that courage has much to do with self. And somebody has nothing consistent in the chart, if we look from it from a human design perspective. The self is courage. And I believe as a reflector, that courage is to be either a filter where nothing gets stuck, or a pristine mirror in many senses. But in order to be able to be that, that's the shamanic work I think that you're doing to clear out whatever is there that wouldn't allow the filter to just be a filter where everything can go through, or that pristine mirror would be kind of fogged. So I believe that the creative tension that can bring out this leadership has to do with the courage. Has to do with knowing that you kind of are like, it's not even a role that you're taking on as courage. It's kind of waking up every day to that ascendant and rising to courage. And what does that look like? Well, it's going to have to do with your insights, but it's also going to have to do with allowing your creativity to be self. Like yourself may be the only consistency is that it's creativity, and creativity is not consistent. And I think that that's where you sometimes feel the struggle, 38 twice, where you're like, but you can't be creative on command. No, you can't. And that's a little bit of tension. So to be kind of a little bit more gentle, and when you have this kind of surge of creativity or the courage that kind of asks you to move, I believe that it's important to allow that pulse. And then this one is a little bit more interesting, because you kind of say, well, setting up the whole structure and all that's kind of draining. Well, you have a lot in Capricorn. So there, I think there is some kind of also unpacking of what does it mean to have all this Capricorn for a reflector. What is the support, the support structures, and also your North Node is kind of taking the past structures and doing something completely new with it, which connects to your radiance in 19. Like you're taking something old and you're doing it a completely new way. And that is the death and the rebirth of Scorpio. And I think that your genius in the world is the leadership, similar again to what we're saying of Amanda. It's the way that you bring it out, the storytelling of the process of creativity, of rebirth, of something completely new, of using old structures in a new way. That is your leadership. Really has to do with how you are expressing that in the world. The storytelling is like the storytelling of the medicine, with the medicine. And there's so this is where I kind of like I would role play with Leo, Scorpio, and Capricorn, and I would kind of like, I don't know, I would probably like create something artistic, like, I don't know, papier-mâché or what is it called? Like I would kind of create physical things for the Leo, the Scorpio, and the Capricorn archetypes. And I would kind of probably sit like every morning with those three little figures, and I would just like feel into the geometry and see what is the dialogue, like how do they want to co-create, how do they want to speak to each other, because they are such big important parts of you. And you kind of know, like, one is your role, the Leo, one is the self, the Scorpio, and one is part of your communication, but also your stability, which is Capricorn. And that's why you can't throw all the structures out of the window. You kind of have to see, how do I use these boxes to do something completely new? But there is something with the interplay with those three archetypes, where they actually want to be a creative team more than kind of, let me not be the Scorpio, or no, they actually are here to co-create through you. And then next thing, I would like staying here right now, but then before we kind of end, I would also like to look at the lines of your 33. But I think this is where I'm going to stop for now.
That makes a lot of sense. And my body has gotten some really lovely reminders recently from transitions, changes, other things that have oriented me a little bit better. And in a more integrated way. So definitely hear what you're saying, and love the idea of playing with the physical representation of those different archetypes. The Scorpio self and it just working in the background is fascinating and super interesting to watch play out for those around me. It's like, I didn't intend for that to blow up in your life. It's just because I was there. There's something around, and maybe this is the transition into the 33.1, where, and you hit the nail on the head, Bella, where it's the creative expression. I have this dynamic where, because the 33 is so defined, and I know it's in the throat, and there's something to communicate there around leadership. The 1 is also my chart. And so and it's an open throat. So something new it's always different. It's always changing. It's not consistent. And having a leadership dynamic that's trying to lead in a somewhat consistent direction is really challenging, because if the leader that you're following is always changing directions, it can be a whirlwind. And my 55 definitely plays into that codon ring of the whirlwind. But it can be exhausting. And the best thing that I can see is working in tandem with somebody else who has that consistent drive, or our collective charts have a consistent drive to them. But then there's the dynamic of, how does that 33.1 in the Pearl, because I'm more familiar with the 33.5 and to some degree the 33.6, although it's currently still operating as the 33.3. But I'm more familiar with that expression versus the 1, which is like, how does one lead from an individuated standpoint, where it's not about the other? It feels, and then bringing that into relationship just feels unclear, if that makes sense.
It's the foundation. There is a level of forgetting that you're doing yourself, but I know that in the things that you're investigating, that first line you have very strongly, you're creating the foundation of tools to support remembering, because that's also going to bring self-empowerment. And as Bella was mentioning the three zodiac archetypes, I was like, he only has to do a soul retrieval for that. He goes and he meets those inner archetypes. Is that's the soul retrieval, right? Because there's like a 3 thing. There's like a destiny retrieval, a soul retrieval, and what's the first one?
Destiny retrieval, soul retrieval, elimination within that framework.
Yeah, because I remember doing the soul retrieval, and I met the fox, I met the different aspects. Like, you can meet those and you're like, oh, all right, you're the Scorpio archetype, and this is what you look like, or this is the talisman, or this is the thing. And then it makes that consistent. And that's a tool you have. And I think that you have a lot of tools. You have a lot of tools, and you're dabbling in a lot of things. And so of course that gets a little bit overwhelming, because like, which one? Which
And
one do
I forget about which ones that I have, but I like the journeying to meet those different parts because I can journey, meet the parts, put them together, bring in the 33 as the medicine woman, medicine man has that shamanic dynamic, same with the 19. So approach those parts from that angle to get to know them and then see how they want to play with each other.
Yeah, and I see, I mean, you're very transpersonal. And I'm feeling that the remembering is something like you're always going to be working with a client. You're always going to be working within a network or within something, right? It's a 6 line. You're going to be working at a systems level. And I think that with the stress of owning a business, it's helpful to have a reflector to come in and be like, remember your practice, remember, like, you got to keep the people on track and on course, right? When they get all woo woo, I'm lucky that I have Bella because I'm a very loosey-goosey person anyways. Bella is a sphinx. She's got direction. I don't have direction. That's why I bring in people that have the one. I get on the train is going this way. I do the thing on the train. That's another gift that you have, is like, come back to this. You're 60, create a structure. Let's create a structure for the very creative, flowy people that need a structure that don't make it. It's like we call in the people we don't have. And so it's just about positioning yourself. Be like, I can't tell you what it's going to be like when we get into a container together, but I can tell you I'm going to make exactly the thing that you need that's going to support you, because I'm really good at knowing how to approach, knowing how to create a container, and then helping you feel empowered and have that like focus.
Well,
Right.
and if I take what Bella shared both during Amanda's chart reading and mine, the 33 as like understanding the story and then being able to prescribe the correct medicine for that story. Yeah, that definitely is something that is a skill set that I have. Which that's my very quiet Leo. Yes, I have that skill set. So thanks, y'all.
Yeah. Michael, I'm also seeing, and I'll send a screenshot of this to you. Do you have the line companion, the human design line companion?
Like the one that
Like
was
that
written by
really long one
Raha.
that shows, yeah, that shows like all of the lines. Like it's like
It's like
230 pages.
yeah, and it's also like $250 on Amazon right now.
Is it?
It's,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. That's insane. Anyway, so remember the 33 is also called the gate of retreat. Retreat comes after the adventure. And so if you're consistently saying, what's the next adventure? Then you're not giving yourself the opportunity to retreat, because the 31 is avoidance. I don't need a retreat. I got the next thing to go do. I don't want to retreat. And so then we're not integrating and completing. And so that's where we repeat. We repeat because we didn't complete. And the 33 gives us that retreat, that privacy, and the access to the throat as well. So retreat is there to build strength, and abstract strength is built through reflection. Without reflection, one can be a fool over and over again. It is okay to be a fool once. If you reflect on it and understand the nature of what you have experienced, you don't have to be the fool the second time. So, yeah, avoidance.
I would like the charts again if we have time. Do we have a little bit more time, or are we?
Yeah, we can be. Let's
Let's
arrive towards completion, because we still have to do Cohen's, even though Cohen's not here.
Yeah, so let's just like go back a little bit to those circle 33s in terms of the lines. And there's also something with the 1 and the question. I think for both Amanda and Michael, again, it's that the medicine is consistent, because the medicine has been curated through all your experiences and everything that you've done with that for so long. So it's there even when maybe creativity is not there, or even when you're still kind of figuring out, the medicine is becoming, it's compounded. So it's more that the expression of the medicine or the storytelling kind of comes in. It's not always consistent, but it's always in the now. The 1 is always in the now. It just says, sometimes I rest and sometimes I spark. So it's not it's a shadow expression of the one to not be in the present. You can actually be completely in the present, in the rest. And right now, as we are here live, we are in the 52, which is a lot of aliveness within gate 52. And at the same time, it's the mountain. And I like what Ashley said also with the 33 and with the 1. Both these are very similar in that sense that they can be a bit frenetic in their energy when they forget that life rests. So it's in the 52 in the I Ching, it has to do with that, when life, when you rest, and when you act, and that there needs to be a discernment of where it's natural to rest and where it's natural to act. And I believe that a leadership can be that. I do like that you're saying, some kind of partnership, collaboration. And I think that the important discernment, coming back to 33 in the lines, is that if you would have a first line in your culture sphere, and if you had said that, I think that, partnering with somebody where we have that consistency together, that would have been a little bit more tricky, because the first line is the creator in the culture, and the culture sphere is the protocol for how you set up your life, your business, your environment in an everyday sense, so that you can create value, right? This is the lock for value, for money, for yourself, for serving the world. So had you had a first line there, it's a little bit more pragmatic and a little bit more tricky to be in partnership or be with a group where everybody's like kind of on the same level. When you're a 6 line, you have all the lines included. You can choose, you can feel into, and it's your cellular wisdom with all of also that ability to feel into with all the open centers. It's your cellular wisdom that's going to tell you on an everyday basis, how do you set up your life, your business, so that you can compound your medicine and express it. That's the 6th line. You have a choice there, and the choice comes from the cellular wisdom. And there's a role modeling in that nothing is fixed. That's a lot of your chart too. It's not fixed. And then with super fast with the evolution, that's just, it's breaking out of misunderstandings and conflicts in the 5th line by using your vulnerability as power. So that is also the 5th line that says, I need you. It could be, I need to co-create with you. I like when you find those people, it also to be able to express. I feel that I have, this is the mastery. This is the compound medicine that I'm here to express in the world. And I would love to find a way to create a practical system so that we can all be ourselves in our design. That's your evolutionary edge. It's hard for a 5-1 with so much Leo power and so much authority in some way to kind of have that vulnerability and openness to co-create, because the 5th line can also say, no, it's just going to be too complicated. It's going to be a labyrinth. Like, I don't want to deal with that mess. I can blow up your life, but then I want to go home to me, right? So there is the evolutionary edge, the courage comes back in that evolution sphere. And it has that kind of balance you can see in the chart too, with the evolution on one side and then the 1-1 on the other side in the fulcrum. So yeah, a vulnerability that includes also some of that, you don't, even if you're 5th line with all what you have in your chart, there are going to be some surprises, and there are going to be a pulse that is not always measurable. And lastly, the pearl. So the pearl is not an everyday law. The pearl is your legacy for life, and it's the afterglow that stays once you have left. And once you have left, we can see here that there is a refinement in the medicine, a refinement in the storytelling. I actually spoke about foundation as well. There is a simplification. And I think that partly is with the 35, with the 33, and with the 1, that can be kind of frenetic going to the next thing and the next adventure. This is the refinement of what are the adventures that are worth having. And I feel that both the Scorpio and the Leo, like these kind of a little bit more fixed ones, and even Capricorn, they are quite pragmatic. Fixed energy is not just going to lose energy, because it knows that when it engages with something, it's going to have to be really courageous, or it's going to be really powerful leadership, or it's going to be really solid structures. So I think that the 33 pearl is the legacy and over a lifetime of the refinement of what is the medicine and how is it shared with the world. That's how I would see it, a long-term process of simplification instead of a frenetic energy. I have to do this, I have to build a business, I have to find the people, but so that's how those 3 different lines in the 33 read for me.
Thanks, y'all. Stellar as always.
Thank you, Michael. Okay. Wait, we don't have Cohen, but we have to read the chart. Bella, did you want to,
Oh, to say something about it.
yeah, and you two can stay. You can go. I know that you have to go at some point, Amanda, as well. So it's up to you guys. If you want to listen, there might be resonance with it. I know that Cohen has some similarities with that 21. Oh, and we've got the 9, 62. That was your ascendant, I think, Amanda.
The 34 was there as well in the
Oh, I see that. Yeah.
sphere.
Mm-hmm.
And the 62 is the ascendant, right? And then the 9 was maybe for you, Michael. I remember seeing the 9 somewhere as well.
Michael has it in his Lilith.
Oh, okay.
The 52 is his attraction, but the 9 is Lilith. I wonder where Cohen is doing the thing somewhere else.
Well, I'm gonna
I've never
read.
met him, so.
I'm gonna read. It's quite short. I'm gonna read. I'm just gonna see also the. Okay, Belgium is the cultural background here in this chart, and we're looking at the 21 as we see on the chart, and the shadow frequency is controlled, right? So the question here, control arises from knowing what's happening and be prepared for what's going to happen and to be able to protect yourself. Yeah, that's kind of control. Fear of losing control is one of the questions. Like a baby losing control of the digestive system, we should learn how to control it, not needing to pee in public, etc., etc. So in that perspective, fear of losing control, actually even on a physical level, how to transcend this control without losing the physical plane. And be that manager of the physical plane. Because when we're speaking about the 21, as you know, we are in tribal circuitry. And when we are in the ego circuit, it has to do with the physical plane. Not necessarily just it's not necessarily the physical body. It's the physical plane where the tribe survives, where we have resources, where we are having children and we are educating them to continue the survival and the thriving of the tribe. So also to be that manager and the Black Panther, right? Those two archetypes that we spoke about for Amanda, the Black Panther as well, which is the pearl in this chart. And then specific, challenges. I want to know how to stay in the heart instead of being reactive to when others touch my wounds. And then she's working with remote, or he, IT support, which is less social. But at least there's like movement. So it seems like okay as work, but not a life mission. And also Cohen is 41, I think. So born in 83, just to kind of have because we don't have the person to have a context of and it sounds a little, I don't know, to me it sounds a little like Vietnamese or Asian somehow, the name. Maybe not. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. I think that where they were born too, it says what is it? Like Saint, isn't it like Saint, like what is it? Saint something or Santa? It was like Santa Claus or something. I was like, oh, interesting. But anyways, Cohen is a 6-2 generator. So the sacral is defined. And the way of definition is with that 34 that we see in the pearl and the 10. And the 10 is going to be in Neptune. So quite a bit obscure with that outer planet in the first line. So being yourself. And that could be veiled. Who am I? And you can see that the 21 is in an open ego center. So no definition besides that 21. It's a second line. So it's also a projection line similar to the 5, only it's unconscious for this person, where maybe someone is either going to give Cohen control of something, or he or she's gonna get called out and controlled. And the 21.2 is natural, right? It needs to be in charge of something, especially as a child. When we're looking at 21.2, the only thing that children have a say in, like you can't force them to go to the bathroom or to eat. that's where children start to get really defiant. And from age 0 to 7, 21.2, there's going to be a level of control happening here. And like Cohen was mentioning, like little children going to the bathroom in their diapers and stuff. And so also when we're putting too much control on our physical body, we also don't remember that we need to go, and we can cause a lot of bladder infections. A lot of things can happen when we're trying to control ourselves, control our bodily sensations. The 21.2 is a very physical one. It's called Might is Right, I think. And it's literally about like putting hands on people. So I'm not sure if hands were put on you or if you end up reacting and putting hands on other people. My son, Austin, has this in his evolution sphere, and it's almost like he's overcome with, I need to control this person physically. So it's about like either pushing the person away, moving the person away, but there is like a need to physically control someone else. So I'm not sure how this manifests in you, but as this being, the heart and also the physicality, and also when you're learning how to be in the physicality, like what you have control over, learning to walk, learning to go to the bathroom, learning to talk, all these things, like we have to have some level of control or even self-control. So I mean, it's too bad that Cohen's not here to go into this, but yeah, that's what we're working with here. So the manager archetype, and you can also see, I'll mention the incarnation cross. So we have the 16.6 is the life's work. It's also the EQ sphere. So there's skills. This is the gate of skills and mastery in a 6th line. It is I forget do you remember what comes after the 16? Like what's the next transit after the 16, Bella?
Is it 20? Let me see.
Yeah. So we've got the 16 here, and the evolution is the 9, which we call the mountaineer. So he or she has root definition right now, but since the 52 is in transit, and the 9 is the culture sphere as well as the evolution sphere. So this is all about focus on the details. But if we're not able to zoom out, we may get too fixated on the details, or even have this ADD, like I want to focus on this and I want to focus on this, and there's so many different things happening. So the 52 coming in really gives us that stillness and that bigger picture and that groundedness to be able to harness that really, really focused energy. And I'm sure they are feeling the impact of this transit for sure, since we have it in the evolution sphere, as well as the culture, which is Jupiter. So it's very much expanded, because that's just the way that Jupiter works. Did we find out what is after the 16?
Yeah, the 35.
Okay, 35. So looking towards the adventure. So mastering certain skills, having mastery in certain skills, and looking towards the next adventure, the next thing to master, and not getting too fixated on the same thing, getting into that routine. He or she does have the wild woman archetype in the 15. So hopefully that one comes in and kind of brings in the new adventure. But we do have to say yes to it in that 35. So yeah. What direction would you like to go in now?
I did look up the name, and it means brave or bold, which I think is quite interesting that a person that has that name chooses to work with a 21. And also, so what I feel is that, and I feel that in the question too, you are in a period of discernment. You're a 6-2 profile. You have 3 phases of your life. The first phase of your life is a lot of trial and error, and partly too when kind of those systems, whether they're physical or other, they kind of blow up because you need those experiences in order to become a role model, in order to become wise. And now you're in the middle of the discernment phase between 30 and 50. And then after 50, you're here to embody the example or the role model energy. So it feels that is the inquiry that you're in. And going back to what we said before with Amanda, she had quite a lot of definition in the bottom of the chart. Here, there's an open root center, completely open. There's a lot of pressure from the environment. So I believe that probably the environment is a super, super important point here, because what are you going to identify with a 16.6 as your sun on the personality side of your life's work? It depends what's around you. And if you are in a stressful environment, it's going to be harder to find your grounding. Then you also have openness in your splenic center and in your emotional center. So filtering a lot of like the world's immune system, but also filtering a lot of the emotional energy that's going out. And then an undefined ego center. So very important to remember that if it's an undefined center and you have your 21 there is a lot of filtering. There's an inconsistency in how that 21 is moving. And here again, who is on the other side, the second line, who is mirroring to you what that kind of leadership, tribal leadership energy. So to me, it seems super important that you have an energetic hygiene. You are here to be able to, over a lifetime, looking at the pearl again, like we were speaking with Michael, to embody that Black Panther and to be a role model for that energy. That's your legacy. That's who you're here to become. And it's almost more that SQ, that inner child, needs to overcome the experiences in early life that happen in that kind of control, fear frequency of the 21. So looking at the body graph, focusing on the 21 that doesn't have consistent energy might not actually be your focus. What we say with the SQ, that is the place to become your own parent. So we know that the inner boy, the inner heart, the inner child, the vulnerable part of you needs to have structures where there is freedom, but there's also a safety, or there are also boundaries. It needs to feel a reciprocity. So for you with your inner child, it's extremely important to establish, to kind of say, no, your digestive system is going to be fine. We're going to be fine. We're going to have money. I would say that material plane, more than a physical plane, is actually material in that sense. So there is something that might have been there in your childhood where maybe your parents didn't see eye to eye when it comes to money. Maybe they have a different perspective. Your core wound is the 17. So there is something in your lineage and that you felt like on your skin, in your energy as a child, where people didn't see eye to eye, where there wasn't reciprocity, where maybe the mirror was distorted. And for you as a parent is to give yourself the opportunity to be seen in a way that feels more on a fair level, and also to give your inner child something to play with and to manage. Ashley has a child that has the 21, or two children maybe even, and it's important that they get something to rule over. So I would say establish that part of you that maybe didn't get to play, didn't get to be as free as he wanted to. How can you give him a little bit of authority? How can you create a relationship with him? And then the other thing I'm going to say here with the Venus is that you do have a conjunction between your life's work and your Mars. So for you, you're here to act in versatility. You're here to be able to like identify with something and then also have the energy from the Mars, from the EQ to do it. So that again makes me feel that it's so important, the environment that you're in, and also the intention when you start. The 9, which is in your defined sacral center, is the programming partner to the 16. So with every start, what is the intention? And then I would also go to just the 1762 again. So when you're unlocking your genius, we see that you have that whole channel with the 62 and the 17. So you are actually a little bit more than a tribal leader. I would say that you are kind of an organization leader. I can understand that you work in IT because that is a kind of precision, the logical pattern, and to be able to zoom in and to zoom out, that is super powerful. I think I'll stop there, but this is a little bit of kind of the background and the places where you can come home, and the places where maybe you even, if you try to, live in those open centers, undefined centers, it's possible that you're going to feel more the conditioning than your own grounding.
Mm-hmm. I see in this chart that it's very heavy in terms of logic and intelligence. The 62 can really be, you have the whole 62-17 channel, and there's something where intellect, right? We call this one the scientist. On the other side of it, it's the mystic. I'm seeing that there's more towards that mental realm, more towards that understanding. You have a defined ajna and throat center. So there's going to be a lot of that focus on understanding things and organizing things. And the 16 is here about mastering certain skills, but it's going to identify with whatever it identifies with, and then it needs to move on to the next thing. And I think to be able to come into that 21, naturally kids are very right-brained, and there seems to be more of a influence on the more logical side of the brain. So to be able to come into your creativity and flow, that second line is about flow and feedback. And so I would break down some of the walls, some of the parameters, some of the things that maybe confined or contained you as a child, and break some of the rules, just so that you can expand your parameters, expand your boundaries. And you might learn something, you might get more depth out of it. And there's something really creative about the 64. It's imagination, illumination. And I think that when you're grounding into that and becoming the artist, what can you do to kind of open yourself up to that creative expression again? You were probably very creative. I mean, very inventive, very like you had an imagination. Where does your imagination want to take you? Versus the mental realm or the numbers realm. And maybe, I mean, you could go into that realm. There's nothing against that realm. I just can feel a lot of that mental energy in this chart and in this energy. And so to have more of that balance and more of that perspective, we don't want to get fixated on a certain opinion or a certain way of approaching things or doing things. We want to have more depth and breadth to things. So I'd say open yourself up to more, because again, that 9 can get really fixated in one area as well. So just an invitation to bring you into different areas so that you can have mastery in many different things instead of one area.
Yeah, I'm going to tap in a little bit more intuitively because I do feel a little bit of a confusion in the energy. We didn't know where the name was from. Is it Asian? Now it seems like it actually is a name from Belgium. And you're not here right now. So like looking at your purpose sphere where the shadow is confusion, I wonder if part of, let me share this chart. Like there is a bit of a, there's a bit of an inquiry that I have. Let's see. So many things here. So we know that you have a powerful conjunction, like that confusion is something that's going to be part of your life. And as a 6-2, as a 6-line being, in the first part of your life, there can definitely be some confusion. Like we said in the beginning, you're in a discernment phase now, and you're here in the world, you're here to be very, you have a precision, you have 62 as well, and you have Virgo, and you have the 64. You're here to be very good at what you're doing and very detailed. However, what it really stands out to me, like we said before, is the 9. What is your intention with how you use your energy? That has to do with even like kind of who you are, the self. Like what's the intention with how you use your energy? The 34 and the 9 are there. And then I'm looking at the 50 in an open spleen. And I see that you have a conjunction there because that's the time that many of us were born, where we have both Saturn and Pluto in Libra, or on the cusp Libra, Scorpio. So there's some kind of script that might be continuing. And I feel that it's so important when you weave, and that, you're here to weave a script, you're here to be a maestro. But is there confusion? Is there interference, which is the low frequency of your attraction, in that weave or that script that's continuing? So it feels like as a 6-2, you're still wanting to go back to the basics a little bit and see what is it that you identify with, where is it that you put your energy, what is the intention behind it, and this is the whole codon ring of the Illuminati, the 44 and the 50. Are you creating, this would be a hard word, are you creating more corruption, or are you creating more teamwork, more harmony? So much in your chart speaks about a versatility. We want that versatility to come from pure energy of, this is where I choose to engage. This is the canvas that I want to paint. We could say as well that just looking at that 64, that is your purpose sphere, that I just show it here instead of going back. Oops. The artist archetype is also another way of looking at the 64. So there's an artistry that is probably similar to what we said earlier during the call. There is a precision that you're here to anchor. And in order for that to happen, you need to find the naturalness of the second line in your purpose and your radiance. You need to find the naturalness of your Black Panther. And I would say for the moment, it's not so much about being the manager of the material plane. It's much more to find an environment that is good for you, an ability to kind of shake out the conditioning or the energy that is not necessarily yours. And then more established kind of a relationship with freedom, a relationship with those part of you that didn't get to play. Because I feel that there's a little bit of serious energy and confused energy. And I think that if you come home to the centers where you are defined, where you're home, there's so much genius there. So just looking at those channels of being here in the now, the channel of being able to discern patterns and improve patterns and translate patterns. And then we also know that you have, you're here to do something unique. You're here to be an artist of something. And there's also something with other people where you want to make sure that you bring people, you have people that make you choose people that make you enthusiastic, where there is respect and reverence, and where there's teamwork. This is kind of you setting yourself up for success. So you can do that through the relationship with your inner child, but also through the relationship of who you're bringing into your life. And four important keywords is there has to be enthusiasm with other, there has to be respect, it has to feel like teamwork. And also, if you feel like you can breathe and be open with them, then so much can feel like it falls into place just through that.
Wonderful. So Cohen, when you watch this, if you watch this, feel free to send us an email with any questions, or if you want to confirm anything, or if you're confused about anything, we are here and available. And then anyone else, Michael and Amanda, if we want to have discussions personally, aside from this, you'll get an email where you can book like a follow-up 30-minute call if there's something we want to explore more that maybe is not conducive for a live format. There can be a continued conversation. And for those of you that are watching, we have another illuminated archetype coming next Tuesday, and I think we have maybe 3 spots left for that one. I can't remember. So if you want to book that, you can. And I think potentially Cohen booked next week too. So I'm wondering if we'll be able to see him next week as well, since he didn't show up. Yeah, Cohen was the only one that booked next week. So if you're interested, book. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for today. And we'll see. And thank you, Michael and Amanda.
Thank you,
We'll see.
Ashley.
Thank you, Bella. Bye, everyone.